Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're diving headfirst into the world of quantum computing. Specifically, we're looking closely at Rigetti Computing.
Yep, a big player. We'll be going through their Q1 2025 results and some pretty significant technical updates they've announced recently.
Exactly. Our mission here isn't just to read out numbers. We want to really break down what's going on, pull the key stuff from their earnings call.
Yeah, connect the dots for you between the tech goals, who they're partnering with, and what it actually means in the real world.
We're hoping you'll come away with a much clearer picture of where Rigetti is and, what that signals for the quantum industry as a whole.
Absolutely. It's a great snapshot, really. Shows you the progress, but also, frankly, the big hurdles that are still there in this field. It's still early days in many ways.
Okay, so let's unpack this. The big goal everyone's chasing is this utility-scale quantum computer.
The Holy Grail, sort of.
And Rigetti just got picked for Stage A of DARPA's Quantum Benchmarking Initiative. That sounds important.
It is. And when DARPA says utility scale, you need to understand what they mean. It's not just throwing qubits at the problem, though. Yeah, the numbers are huge, tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of physical qubits.
Right.
But the real kicker, the DARPA focus, is the quality. We're talking incredibly high fidelity, better than 99.9% median 2-qubit gate fidelity.
Wow.
And super fast gates, under 10 nanoseconds. Plus, this is key, real-time quantum error correction.
And just for context, where is Rigetti now?
Well, their current system, the Ankar 3, has 84 qubits. Pretty good fidelity, around 99.5%. But you see the gap, right? That jump to 99.9% and beyond, plus the scale, it's a massive challenge.
And being selected by DARPA, even for Stage A, that's a big deal strategically, isn't it? Rigetti's one of only a few superconducting companies chosen.
Exactly.
The award itself is, what, $1 million, which in this field isn't huge money.
No, it's not about the cash at this stage.
Right. It feels more like a stamp of approval, or validation. DARPA is essentially saying, okay, you're on our shortlist. You're one of the serious contenders.
That's precisely it. That kind of validation from an agency like DARPA can be worth way more than the initial check. It signals to the whole ecosystem, to investors, that they're backing a promising horse.
And the pressure's on, I imagine.
Oh, definitely. The whole point of this DARPA program is to filter things down. They'll likely narrow it to just one or maybe two companies for the really big funding later. So yeah, it's an intense vetting process. High stakes.
Okay, so DARPA's the big picture goal. But getting there means scaling up, and that's a monster challenge in itself. How's Rigetti tackling that? I know they talk about chiplets.
Right. The chiplet strategy or chip tiling, it's becoming, well, almost the consensus path forward for superconducting qubits.
Why is that? Why not just make one giant chip?
It's just incredibly hard to manufacture a single, large, perfect quantum chip with tons and tons of qubits. Yields drop, defects creep in. So the idea is to make smaller, high-quality chiplets and then link them together.
Makes sense.
Rigetti's already shown they can link two 9-qubit chiplets. Their goal now, and it's ambitious, is 4 9-qubit chiplets by mid-2025.
Which gets them?
Over 100 qubits by the end of next year. And they're targeting really good fidelity to 99.75% for those connections.
So chiplets help pack more qubits together. But then you have to connect the chip, right? The wiring. That seems like another huge bottleneck, especially for thousands of qubits.
You've hit on a critical point. Inside those dilution refrigerators, the super cold environments qubits need. You traditionally have all these coaxial cables running down to control each qubit.
Right, I've seen pictures. It looks like a bird's nest of wires.
Exactly. And those wires aren't just bulky, they carry heat, which limits how many qubits you can cool effectively. It's a fundamental scaling problem.
Okay, so optical signaling. This sounds like a potential game changer.
It really could be. That's the exciting part here. Optical fibers are tiny compared to Qubits cables, and crucially, they conduct almost no heat. Rigetti published a paper, I think it was in Nature Physics, with partners like Harvard, MIT, University of Chicago.
Sweet heavy.
Yeah. They demonstrated a hybrid microwave optical transducer. Basically, a way to use light to control the qubit without needing the coax lines running all the way down.
Wow. So that opens the door to potentially much larger systems.
That's the hope. Thousands, maybe tens of thousands of qubit. It's a very promising path.
Is this something we'll see soon? What's the roadmap?
Well, right now, it's still coax. The next step, maybe in the next, say, 1 to 3 years, is moving to specialized flex cables. That might get them to a few thousand qubits.
Okay.
But the real jump, using fiber optics based on that transducer tech, that's probably more like 3 to 4 years out on the roadmap. That's for the truly massive qubit counts needed for fault tolerance.
And you mentioned gate speed earlier. That's another big piece of the puzzle, comparing different quantum approaches.
It is. Superconducting qubits, like Rigetti's, are inherently fast. We're talking gate speeds of maybe 50 to 100 nanoseconds now, with DARPA pushing for under 10 nanoseconds.
And how does that compare?
Compare that to, say, trapped ions or neutral atoms. Their gates are much slower, hundreds of microseconds. That's like 1,000 to 10,000 times slower.
That's a huge difference in raw speed.
It really is. Now, other technologies might have advantages in, say, qubit lifetime or connectivity, so it's not just about speed. There are trade-offs.
Right. It's a complex race with different strengths.
Exactly. But for pure computational throughput, yeah, that speed is a major plus for superconducting.
Okay, so we've got scaling with chiplets, potential breakthroughs with optical signaling, but it's not just about the number of qubits, is it? Quality matters hugely.
Absolutely paramount. A million noisy qubits aren't much use.
So what's Rigetti doing on the quality front? I saw this award from the Air Force Office of Scientific Research, AFOSR, for something called ABAA.
Ah, yes. Alternating bias-assisted annealing, ABA. It's a $5.48 million project, a consortium Rigetti's leading.
What does it actually do?
It's a fabrication technique. Think of it as a way to fine-tune the qubit manufacturing process at a really deep level. It helps deal with microscopic defects that affect how qubits behave.
Okay.
Specifically, it's really good for frequency targeting, making sure all your qubits resonate at precisely the frequency you want them to. ABA can apparently reduce the spread, the variability, in those frequencies by like 10 times or more.
And why is that so important?
Consistency. If all your qubits behave predictably and consistently, controlling them, and crucially implementing error correction becomes much, much easier. It's foundational.
Speaking of error correction, they're also quite active in the UK, right? With the Innovate Quantum Mission Pilot Awards.
Yeah, they have a significant collaboration going with Riverlane and the UK's National Quantum Computing Centre, the NQCC.
And the goal there is?
Quantum error correction, QEC. They want to run ambitious QEC experiments and actually demonstrate real-time error correction. That's a huge milestone needed for fault-tolerant quantum computers.
So practical steps towards making quantum computing robust.
Exactly. And as part of that, they're upgrading the Rigetti machine already at NQCC. It's going up to a 36-qubit QPU, their latest generation, with a new control system.
Is that a profitable project for them?
But probably lower gross margins on that specific NQCC work, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's strategically vital. It cements their position in the UK quantum scene, keeps them central to the research efforts there. Very important for visibility and future opportunities.
And there were a couple of other UK projects mentioned too, right?
Yeah, briefly. One with CQC Quantinuum, now working on scalable components for QEC. And another interesting one with several partners, TRC, Cruise, Q-Control, even Oxford Ionics building an open architecture testbed, trying to create a common way for software to talk to different quantum hardware.
That sounds useful for the whole field.
Potentially, yeah. Fostering that ecosystem.
Now, moving from research towards application, they highlighted using their tech for a real-world problem, didn't they? Something about the power grid in South Carolina.
They did. They used their 84-qubit Ancar 3 system and a new quantum preconditioning algorithm to tackle an energy grid optimization problem.
And how did it go?
They reported demonstrating a relative advantage over classical optimization methods and got high accuracy in the solution.
Okay, relative advantage. That sounds promising, but maybe not full quantum supremacy yet.
That's the right way to think about it. It's definitely not quantum supremacy in the sense of blowing classical computers out of the water on any problem, but it is a strong demonstration of quantum utility for a specific, relevant problem type.
So showing potential value even now.
Exactly. It shows these machines are starting to do useful things, finding advantages in certain niches, which is a really encouraging sign for the future as the hardware gets better.
Makes sense. Now, all this R&D, these collaborations, it takes serious money. Let's pivot to the business side. The big news was closing that investment from Quanta Computer.
Yeah, that's a significant partnership. They closed the initial $35 million tranche, but it's part of a much bigger strategic deal. Quanta, the Taiwanese electronics giant, has committed $250 million over 5 years. But here's the key detail. That money is specifically for the non-QPU hardware.
Meaning
the stuff around the quantum chip.
Yeah.
The control systems, the dilution fridges, the cabling, the racks, all the supporting infrastructure.
Ah, so Quanta handles that side.
Exactly. It lets Rigetti drastically reduce his own R&D spend in those areas, which are complex and expensive, but maybe not their absolute core focus.
And instead, they can?
Double down on what they do best.
Yeah.
Designing and fabricating the actual QPU chips and the immediate interface hardware. It's a smart division of labor, lets both companies focus on their strengths.
Okay, smart partnership. What about the Q1 financials themselves? How did the numbers look?
Well, revenue was $1.5 million. That was down from $3.1 million the year before.
Why the drop?
Part of that was the NQCC contract we mentioned earlier, important strategically, but low in margin. So gross margin overall was about 30%.
And expenses?
Operating expenses went up to $22.1 million from $18.1 million. Mostly things like annual salary bumps, some new hires, and higher stock compensation costs. Pretty standard growth pains in some ways.
But they reported a big net income figure, didn't they? Like $42 million?
They did, but you have to look closely at that. It wasn't from operations. It was almost entirely due to a non-cash accounting gain, basically. The value of some financial liabilities, like warrants, changed in their favor on paper.
Ah, okay. So not profit from selling quantum computers.
Not at all. The real financial story is still about investment in R&D, funded by things like that quanta partnership. They did end the quarter with a healthy cash balance, though, about $237.7 million after the quantum money came in.
So they have runway. Good. Now, one last piece of the puzzle. Government funding, specifically in the U.S., the National Quantum Initiative Reauthorization Act. It seems stuck.
Oh, it's incredibly frustrating for the whole industry. You've got this major piece of legislation, critical for funding research and development, with broad bipartisan support.
Should be a slam dunk, right?
You'd think.
Yeah.
But it's just been moving incredibly slowly through Congress. It's almost comical, given how much everyone talks about the importance of quantum.
And what's the actual impact of that delay?
It's real. A lot of academic labs, Department of Energy facilities, they rely heavily on NQI funding streams. So while there's plenty of interest from these groups in buying or accessing quantum systems,
money isn't flowing yet.
Exactly. The uncertainty is holding back those potential orders. It really underscores that this industry, while exciting, is still heavily reliant on that R&D funding ecosystem.
It's not quite a commercial market yet?
Not in the broad sense, no. We're still probably, 3 to 5 years away from clear quantum advantage, where these machines routinely solve valuable problems faster or better than classical computers. It's still fundamentally an R&D play right now.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, what's the big takeaway for you, our listener? It seems Rigetti is really attacking this challenge from multiple angles.
That's right. It's not just one thing. You've got the chiplet architecture for scaling. You've got the potentially revolutionary optical signaling work.
Then the focus on qubit quality with things like ABAA, the strategic partnerships like Quanta, the work on error correction.
It's a full-court press. This deep dive really shows you the layers of hard, foundational work science and engineering that's going into building this future.
Yeah.
It's incredibly complex.
But also incredibly promising.
Definitely.
Okay.
You're seeing the steady translation of theory into actual working, improving hardware.
So here's something to think about. As Rigetti and others keep pushing these boundaries, more qubits, better fidelity, smarter integration, how is that going to fundamentally change what's possible? Think about fields like designing new materials, discovering drugs, optimizing energy systems. How might these breakthroughs reshape those areas in the next decade? And maybe even closer to home, what new problems, maybe problems you face, could quantum utility unlock down the road?